And welcome to the second episode of the UEACC podcast. The first one was that good, we're back again. But we've replaced the Garth Crooks of cricket with his freezing cold takes. We've got Kendall out, brought Dilan in. Dylan's a fresher at UEA. Took the scene by storm in the first indoor competition, getting player of the tournament. Dill, how is it feeling to be on the podcast?
I think there's probably no better honour I've had in my life at the moment. I think when I got that original message asking if I wanted to come on the podcast, I instantly I was lost for words. But I think the thing I've been most looking forward to is the fact that that Kendall's not on it. I'd rather not listen to 30-40 minutes of whatever that was last week. So yeah, I think that's the best bit about it.
No, it's great to have you on such a big stage as well. I think we reached 100 views on the first podcast. So
I think it's 150.
Yeah, well, if we can double up again on that. At some point, we'll reach 1,000, and then we'll probably be up there with Diary of a CEO. Harry, great to have you back as well.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, great. So I guess the first thing to talk about, Dill, would probably be yourself. I mean, you've been a hot commodity around Norfolk. It's pretty rare that someone moves to Norfolk, and in the cricket scene, teams are pretty keen to snap up on the newest talent. Can you give us an update on your transfer saga?
Yeah, so I've done a few different training sessions at the few local clubs. So I've done a few I've done one at each club. So I've done one at Old BUCS, I've done one at Brook, I've done one at Great Witchenham, and I've done one at Sprowston. And I know everyone there. I've really enjoyed all of them. But I think just very recently, actually, I've decided on which club I was going to join, and it wasn't an easy decision. All the clubs had things to offer. I've actually decided to join Brook this year. So
great decision.
I think just really enjoy the atmosphere, nice training facilities. I just hope that the season is as good.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I think I've heard rumours around this Norfolk circuit that they're comparing the Hooper Sheemar double signing to Mascherano and Tevez to West Ham back in the day. So yeah, I think that'll be a really good move for you, Dill. Right, we'll go into this then, Thomas. You're the expert here. Talk us through the fixtures that we've had come out since the last podcast.
Yep. So since the last recording, we now know who's in our leagues for the outdoor season. So the first team fixtures as follows. So of course on the 26th we have Derby Day. It's still to confirm when we'll be playing that, but hopefully we'll know sooner rather than later. And then the week following, the first league games away to Lincoln's first team. Then at home, the week after against Cranfield's ones. Then away to Union Nottingham Fours, then De Montfort ones, and then to finish the season with a home game against Leicester Men's twos. And then let me just get the second team fixtures. There we go. Second one's there we go. So at the moment they've got allocated the second team are meant to start on the 26th, get Anglo Ruskin, but that game's getting rearranged because of Derby Day. Then Trent away, Trent's 14 the following week. Northampton men's ones at home, Cromwell men's twos away, Leicester men's threes at home on the same day. The ones are playing their twos at home, and to finish the season with an away game to Lincoln against their second team. So there's a lot of crossover, to be fair, with the teams in each league. So yeah.
No, I think going back to the first point you made then, Derby Day moving location from Colney, what has been a bit of a fortress at times for the side, especially last year. I don't think the team lost a game there. What's your honest reaction to that, Harry?
It's a bit frustrating, but there's not much anyone can really do. And so hopefully we can get good facilities for at the end of the day, we want a good game of cricket, and if the grounds would be suitable for it, then we need to find elsewhere. And arrange then going to be made to make sure we still get spectators to the game. So I don't think it's the end of the world, and it should actually now result in probably a higher standard game of cricket at a better ground.
Yeah, Dill, how are you feeling? You must be gutted, itching to go at Colney. I know you've been analysing that ground quite heavily over the last few weeks. Disappointed?
Yeah, I think from when I joined, Derby Day was something I've been looking forward to. Heard all about it, the atmosphere, the fans, everyone's loving it. But obviously, it's gutting to hear that there's a potential move of ground. We should still be able to get some supporters out. And as Thomas says, if it's unsuitable to play, I mean, most of us would rather not play. But I'm slightly gutted to not have all the fans out, but hopefully still get a few down, have a bit of an atmosphere.
To be fair, we still took 20 to Essex last year, and we had to get there ourselves. So hopefully, you just put on a bus for the spectators as well. So should still get a decent crowd.
Yeah, hoping to get a sellout of 35 people. That would be truly amazing. And if you are listening to the pod, get yourself on that bus. You know, it's going to be first come, first served.
Yeah,
tent up overnight. Get to that bus first thing in the morning.
We'll probably we'll run a free ticket service on the SU website. Basically, we first come first serve, and then everyone else have to make their own way if they can't get onto. If we're oversupplied.
Yeah, great. Well, that should be a good day. Hopefully, unlike last year.
Yeah.
Going into those ones fixtures, then it feels to me like that league has got weaker since last season. What are your thoughts on that, Harry?
I think all the teams in there are probably about the same as last year. It's just you take Cambridge out of there. I think that's the big difference. You know, that was the tripping up point for last year. I think we pretty comfortably beat everyone we played, and then that game we were cruising to the run chase, and then we sort of lost Laslett and Pete, and that was that really.
I think there was 4 ducks in the bottom order.
Then the year before, it was the Cambridge game that sort of cost us. I think now they're gone, I think we can be confident about finally moving for that second place and actually finishing top and hopefully getting promotion.
Yeah, I think the big difference really has been all this time. We've always looked very comfortable against teams, but in close games, we've not necessarily been as consistent as we could be. I think we've been quite reliant on 1 or 2 individuals to score the runs. Bowling wise, we've always had quite good depth, to be fair. But do you think this year, this new group, Dill, I'll ask you this one then. Do you think this new group brings a bit more consistency and I think more run scoring to the camp than we may have had over the last few years?
Yeah, I can only go off what I've heard for the previous years, and it's obviously not easy. I'm not going to throw shade at anyone. I don't know what people were doing in the previous years. But I think like looking around the squad, there's definitely like a lot of depth. We've got talent with bat and ball. So obviously we're only indoors at the moment. It's hard to tell. Like it's the first time a lot of us have trained together, so we don't know what people are going to be like outdoors. But there's some very promising signs in those indoor nets. And I think we've definitely got multiple people who could play a similar role, which is the kind of position you want to be in. So if one's not performing, one gets injured, anything can happen in the season. You've got that replacement ready, and the first team we're in a position where I feel like the selection process won't be very easy. We'll have to. There's obviously a few where you're like, yeah, he's definitely going to play, but there's quite a few that are a bit more challenging when it comes to that selection process. So that's obviously the position you want to be in, and I think we've definitely got a chance of doing winning a lot of games this season.
Yeah, I think that's something that hasn't been there. I think you'd agree, Harry, in the last 2 years. We haven't really had that depth. I think that is something that's really interesting because you go to training and you say, who's in your team? And it's everyone's got different people that they think should be playing. And I think that's really exciting. And the fact that, if someone's not performing, it's not like, oh, let's scramble around and find someone. There is someone there to just come up and do the job.
I mean, thinking about our 2 years beforehand so far, I think maybe we were a bit, as I said, a bit reliant on a couple of people, whereas this year I think we're a bit more spread out. Maybe our best players aren't as good as our best players from the last couple of years, but I think we're just better overall now as a team.
Yeah.
Probably more of a team than we were in the past couple of years. So I think, look, I know absolutely nothing about what any of the other teams out there are going to be about. You don't know who, I can't really remember much about specific players that played the last couple of years, and we have absolutely no idea what they could all have a good fresh intake like we have. So, but I think we can be confident and hope for the best, and Who's Club of the Year.
Yeah,
Finally get out of tier 3.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, to be above Worcester in the standings would be the stuff of dreams, I think it's fair to say. Moving on to the twos then. I think that league there, we've seen a few of the teams actually that the twos played against last year in the ones league. So I think that brings a new element of, I think it'll actually make it a more even playing field for the twos, whereas they've sort of been caught short playing against other teams' first teams over the last couple of years.
Yeah. I think about playing, of course, Cranfield Ones got promoted and now playing their twos instead this year, and we probably should have won that game against Cranfield Ones last year. So take positives that when we play them their second team this year. And again, Ruskin, I remember when we played them a couple of years ago, we played against their first team, and that was the one time point in the last 2 years where we had a good day of the bat and a bad day of the ball, which is rare.
I think you got a 50, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going to beat it up, but yeah. But yeah, it's the same case of you don't know who the teams that league have lost. You don't know who they've gained. But I think the teams are just in a far stronger team than what they've been. I think, I said, because there's more talent throughout the club, it then means that again we're not just going to rely on a couple of people in that second team. I think there's far more batting than we've had before. I think we've probably got more of an identifiable batting lineup, and then the bowling's going to be stronger like it has been the last couple of years.
Yeah. And Dill, as someone, obviously we're talking about this depth, as someone who's new to the club, can you see a sort of a reason behind the fact that I think there's a lot more engagement with the sport this year? Do you think there's anything that we're doing right as a club that's led to that?
I think I can only talk of like personal experience and what I've heard from others, but it's like as soon as I joined, there was an instant like buzz around it. Like I feel like maybe other places I played cricket, maybe just like new people join, and that's just like a normal thing. Whereas here, like all the people that join were instantly like approached by someone. Everyone's like checking up on each other, and like it's just like a very nice environment to be in. Like it's obviously easy to come into a team and just play cricket, but there's the social side of things that's what really draws people in, I think, and especially at university standard, it's a big social side. There's a big social aspect of it, and I think like from my perspective, that is managed really well, and I think that how welcoming everyone was and how everyone tried to get you and get like involved in everything. I think that's done really well, and I think that's led to like people coming back to training every week, every so often. It doesn't matter how often they come back. It's the fact that they want to come back at some point. Yeah, I think that's done really well.
Yeah, Harry, you must feel like a proud CEO here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the weird thing with cricket, isn't it? That basically, we have to wait so long for our BUCS fixtures to start. Yeah, but the problem is that we have this Easter break, and then we come back and straight we're playing. So you sort of want basically everyone, even though we're still a month away, everyone needs to be training hard now and basically almost gelling as teams, and then so it means that when we come back, we can hit the ground running straight away. But, having those 2 pre-season friendlies as well this year should help. Get rid of rustiness and again be able to help Jordan and Kate work out what their team's going to be for that first game.
Yeah, I think adding to that, the indoors been really, really good for us. I think last year, you look at Derby Day, I don't think any of us played really together apart from about 4 or 5 of us who were playing first team the year before. There's a lot of new boys, and I don't think it necessarily felt like we were a team. And I think this year, we've gone through, we played a lot of indoor games. I know that was only 6 of us, but then we had different squad players each time. So I'd say that's added up to 8 or 9. And, the club's so connected this year that I think whoever comes into that team will feel like they're part of the team. Even if it's the twos as well, everyone's still part of that UEACC family. So yeah, if you're listening to the podcast, please come along to a session and give it a go. Great. So moving on then to our sort of our wider cricket topic of the week. Well done, Harry, for coming up with this one. Looking at the international game these days, there's a big focus on T20, and tests are almost coming cool again with the Bazball revolution. You know, is ODI cricket sort of losing its place within cricket? What are your thoughts?
I mean, unfortunately, I think it's fair. I have the contrary opinion. I prefer watching an ODI than over a T20, but there's so much cricket these days, whether it be franchise or these bilateral series happening all the time, that it's just getting lost. Like, you know, I'm someone that's watched cricket all my life. Anytime England have been on, I've watched it, and I watched about 15 minutes of the ODI series against Bangladesh. I was like, it's almost like I just don't care anymore. Like, it's just, what I find bizarre is, so of course we won the World Cup in 2019, and I feel like since then I could hardly think of a time where it's felt about our strongest team out in ODI.
100%.
It's felt the forgotten format, and yeah, I think it's just, as much as I like it, I'm starting to see a future for it in the international game.
Yeah, Dill, what do you think? Is it a money thing? I think with the franchise game, there's a lot of money in T20. We know that, and I think countries have started to address the compensation for Test cricket. So, do you think it's just sort of been left in the middle?
So I think you hit the nail on the head there. Obviously, if you look at your local leagues and your club cricket, even your lower level county cricket, a lot of that is like I'd say the majority of that is 40 to 50 overs, depending on what sort of level you're playing and how old you are. So I think that format for people who are playing at our standard is perfect. You're playing all day, and you normally, like, depending on where you're playing, like club cricket, you normally sit together afterwards as well. So it's a sort of, I think that's a perfect time. But then obviously you've got to remember these international players are playing. They're not only playing for the enjoyment; it's also their job. So you can't look at them and be like, oh, he's gone to play in this franchise because he wants more money. It's their job. So they're gonna the money is gonna be part of it. If they're not earning enough playing ODI cricket because less people are watching, less people are actually going to the ground to watch as well. They're gonna, it's gonna happen. I personally think ODI cricket is becoming more and more exciting with higher scores, more aggressive batsmen, and cricket in general, as it gets more aggressive, I think it becomes more exciting. But I can understand why this question is raised, because as Harry said, it's very rare that teams that are playing all year round get their full side out for an ODI. Obviously, the World Cup's slightly different. You're going to get your full side out. But if you've just come off the back of a test, you're not going to put your full strength ODI side out, as we've literally seen very recently. And it could be the format that is sort of affected by the amount they're playing Test and T20.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if you look at the England team as well, what you were saying there about the games becoming more aggressive, I think that was 4 years ago. I think when England won the World Cup, and in the build-up to that World Cup, it was 350 versus 350. I might be wrong, but every time I check the score over the last couple of years, it's like 250 all out, 200 plays 200. I think the scoring's actually gone down, which is sort of replicated in our engagement with it. And the fact that the England team actually, it's not, for whatever reason, the team that won the World Cup has not played together. You've hit the nail on the head there. You know, and there's players coming through as well who've done really well at first class level. Sam Hain in the 50 over stuff, Brooke as well. They barely play because they play the other two. Everyone's leaning towards those other two at the moment.
Well, the issue you have now is that the young white ball players that are doing well and they're getting caught to the ODI squads, they aren't actually playing one day cricket, because the season after we won the World Cup, it's then, of course, there was COVID, then we brought the 100 in, and all of a sudden the one day cup become a second team competition basically. So when Harry Brookie made his debut, he hadn't actually against South Africa. He hadn't played a one day match since 2019. So I think it's getting to the point now where the thing I like about ODI cricket is there's still, because it's a longer format, you still have to use your brain a bit more as a batter. Whereas with T20 times, it's just a case of, well, I've just got to get out and just whack it and go from ball one. Whereas It's still ebb and flow a bit with the 50 over stuff. But I think watching it now, I think with England, even though we were going hard in that build, that's what won us the World Cup. I think we've gone to a level now whereas because all the playing is a T20 stuff, they are just now playing it as a T20 and not really using the brains that much.
Yeah, I think it's going to a stage. I think if England underperform at the World Cup, is it this year at the World Cup? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they underperform at this World Cup, there's a real danger that sport gets that type of cricket gets completely pushed to the side. Let alone the One Day Cup coming at the same time. I can see it being like an England Lions team that we put out each week saying, are they going to prove yourself for the Test and the white ball team? Because the Test team play like a 50 over team in truth.
Well, yeah, the Test team at the moment are doing a better job of playing an ODI style than the actual ODI team are.
It's because it's our best players.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I think it'd be a shame if if it gets to the point. Like, I saw an article about the MCC committee made some comments saying that they've got to find a balance somewhere between international and franchise cricket, and with the calendar being so congested, I think the way it's going to go is ODI cricket will pay the price. But if I compare, of course, England the wholes of both World Cups at the moment, but if I compare the feeling when England won the ODI World Cup, when they won the T20 one, the ODI one felt such a bigger deal. It felt such. I remember, because we all had a bit of a mini series, didn't we? Went out to Dilan's flat and watched the T20 World Cup. It's like we won, like oh nice, we won, but it was like it just didn't feel that big of a deal. When I remember that 2019 final, I mean, it helped. It was an absolutely sensational final, but it just felt massive, and it felt like we won a major trophy. Whereas T21, it was decent, but it just didn't have that same feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to be at the game, the final, and I think the atmosphere there, it was like you're winning a football World Cup. I completely agree. I don't think that's reciprocated by the Test Championship and also the T20 World Cup.
Oh, that's a waste of time, the Test Championship.
Yeah, I completely agree, honestly. But you look at it, and if that's the biggest World Cup in all our minds, then why is it playing third fiddle to the Test matches and the T20s? Still, don't want to get you an ICC graduate job here, but if you can, what would you do to try and fix the gap, really?
Yeah, I think it's a really tricky one. I think it's obviously over the years the playing schedule just getting more and more packed. Like people are playing all year round. Every country, we're all playing. Even as like club cricketers and county cricketers, we're playing more than we used to. So it's a really tricky one. But I think there needs to be that bridge that's made where an international player can go and play franchise cricket, but if there's an ODI series coming up, there needs to be that conversation had between the selectors and certain players that might be going off to play franchise cricket. And obviously it might be happening behind the scenes, we never know, but I think there just needs to be a bit more importance placed on that ODI stuff, because as we say at the moment, the teams they're putting out are just nowhere near what they used to be. So I think there just needs to be a big conversation had between players and staff of what they feel they need to do to change, because ODI stuff is just not going to be the same until they start to have a conversation about it.
I mean, of course, another issue is that if you're not essentially contracted player, but why on earth would you turn down a big deal offer to go playing like the PSL, the South African T20 League, or the IPL, or what? Like, there's no like. Sam Billings made a comment like the other day, basically saying, "Look, he's like in his 30s now. He spent so much of his time in his career just carrying drinks for England. It's time he just enjoys his cricket." So it's a tricky one. Also, quick about that Test World Championship. That is the biggest waste of time. The way that table works, the fact you get the same amount of points for winning a 2-match series 2-0, than winning a 5-match series 5-0. It's just it's bonkers.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I think that does need a redo because that's a conversation for.
No, that's different. I almost requested that as the agenda point, but I was like, actually, no, we'll talk about this.
Well,
but
maybe for a future episode. Do you think it's just a case, Harry, of just the equitable conversation would fix the issue? Because people like Sam Curran, for example, I mean, I don't know the maths, but I'd imagine he probably earns 40 grand from playing a 3-match ODI series for England, and he earns about $3 million by going to India for a month.
It's just tricky. Yeah, they've made it clear that they see benefits to these players going around. They always see more benefits to some of these players playing these franchise leagues instead of playing these Berkshire series. So, it's a really tricky one. It's just that, yeah, as an England fan, you want to see the best England sides playing, no matter who they're playing against. But at the end of the day, these are all people doing a job, and why would they not go earn a load of money, whatever franchise league, or just play some meaningless 3-match series against Bangladesh?
Yeah, and do you think as well that, I don't know whether it's just an England team thing? Is it something that you've seen in other international teams? Because for me, it always looks like New Zealand and Australia put a very consistent team out in the ODI format.
I think it's a worldwide thing. I mean, the problem in England now is basically everyone wants to play England because it's a big ticket draw, especially when we go abroad. Get the Barmy, we're going out there and sort of. So we're sort of being pulled all over the place over the winter. And then everyone wants to come over and play us, and we have such a short summer calendar. But then I think you see it with India as well. I think there's been plenty of times where they're finishing a series, and all of a sudden they've also then got a one-day series starting the next day. So they're having to send a completely different team.
Yeah.
So I think they're the two sides majorly affected, and then I think the likes of South Africa and West Indies, because their boards can't compete money-wise with these franchises, they're then losing their best players across all formats. That's another topic point about the issue with money of these boards and basically not being able to compete with the big three of India, Australia, and England. But no, I don't think it's just an England problem. I think it's an international problem, but for different reasons depending on the nation.
Yeah, that was a really interesting conversation, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Sorry we can't continue. It feels like on these debate topics you can just go back and forth for a long time. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Again, if you somehow made it through episode 2, we will go again with episode 3 in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. Dill, thank you for coming on as our guest. Harry, it's a pleasure as always.
No, pleasure as always, Hoops.
Yeah.
Cheers, Dylan.
Great. Cheers, guys. Thank you.